going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. And I am here going over the recap or the breakdown from the results of UFC Fight Night 171. You can call it UFC Fight Night Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, however you want to refer to it, because right about now, nobody knows exactly what's going on at all. It's just all just kind of up in the air there in terms of how to categorize this particular event because of COVID-19 and all of the different things that has affected, of course. So I'm gonna try to wait for some people to kind of get in here, and then we will go ahead and start talking about this fight or talking about this card. So first and foremost, though, I mean, obviously, as you can tell, unless you just were just completely unaware of what went on in in the card, uh, I'm showing you here this first shot, which is actually a little bit deceiving because a lot deceiving because Anthony Smith does have the upper hand right here, but he did not have the upper hand at the end of this fight, and I have a lot to say about how this went down. I feel that it was one of the most poorly refereed and cornered fights I've seen in quite a long time. Just completely upset with how things went down in this for this particular fight. I mean, I couldn't be more upset, but I am going to get into this in a second, talking about this main event because I just feel that it was handled just completely shamefully. I'm gonna go ahead and just start talking about the fight starting from the top, going through each fight, and I'm gonna finish it off talking about this main event. If you do have any questions at all, make sure you put those in the chat. Also, if you're watching now, please don't hesitate to subscribe, like the video, share it as well. So let's start it off at the top. Chase Sherman making his UFC return took on Ike Villanueva. Villanueva was making his UFC debut, and he was also fighting at heavyweight and I truly believe light heavyweight is his best division. And I said that in my previews and my predictions, the ones I wrote for Forbes as well as for the videos that I did here on the Fight Guys. And I picked this fight correctly. Actually, I didn't have a great day for predictions. I was 5-5, so 500 is not that great from a prediction standpoint, but I did nail a few of the upsets. This one was not an upset. Chase Sherman was the favorite. He won pretty much the way I expected him to. Just too big, too strong, overpowered Ike Villanueva. Stopped him in the second round. Villanueva has some fast hands, though. I will give him that. Really fast on the inside. Was able to close the distance a couple times, but Chase Sherman just has a ridiculous chin. And I knew that he would more than likely be able to absorb some of those shots that he had to eat. And once he was able to start kind of laying the lumber himself, I figured he'd have the edge, and he did. He ended up getting that stoppage in the second round. Nothing too shocking there. Now, in the next fight, there was a little bit of a surprise. I can't say that I'm stunned because I called that this could happen. I didn't really have the heart to pick Kelleher. I should have because he was too much for Hunter Azure. Um, Kelleher is one of those guys. He's seemingly kind of like waiting to eat the Dana White Contender Series guys alive. He took down O'Day Osborne in his last fight. And then in this fight, he started off a little slow. I thought Hunter Azure had a good first round. I thought he might have started to slow down a little bit later in the first round. But then in the second round, Kelleher just took control, really with a lot of pressure. Hunter seemed to get a little tired. Kelleher was coming straight up the middle with the shots. And then finally, he landed this left hook right on the button. And I'm going to tell you something. When your chin turns around and touches your shoulder, that's an indication that you have been hit squarely, my friends. And that is exactly what we saw there. So big second round KO victory for Kelleher. And it was an upset. He called out Sean O'Malley after the fight. So then let's move on to Gabriel Benitez. This was an upset that I tried to call, and I thought Benitez had a chance to win this fight, and it was very close. But I was wrong on this upset. So at this point in the card, man, it wasn't looking really good. I was 1-2 in terms of predictions. But this was at least close. If you can look at the statistics here, you see round by round they were close. Benitez landed more significant strikes in the first round. In the second round, you saw Morales came back and had a 7 strike edge, and then in the third round he had a 9 strike edge, and that kind of pushed him out, and he ended up getting the victory. It was really good striking. I don't know, Mowgli just can't get a break, man. He shows up, he has some decent performances, but he just can't seem to get a break. And he suffered one of the nastiest cuts on the leg that you're going to find. Got a leg kick checked. I believe it was at the end of the first round, and I think this had something to do with him a little kind of slowing down a little bit. The leg kicks were clearly going to be a part of his game plan, but he got one checked, man, and oh my, oh my God, I got to take it off the screen. I got to take it off the screen. If you want to see it longer, you're going to have to screenshot it because I can't take it no more. Oh my God. It was nasty. Just you would think I don't like combat sports because that kind of stuff still freaks me out. That was disgusting. But yeah, you got a leg kick checked, and that is what happened. And it really did. It slowed him down quite a bit. But I'll give him a lot of credit. He is a absolute gangster. He fought through it and kept going and stayed dangerous, but just couldn't get the victory. So was wrong on that one. I was right here, which pretty much almost everybody was. Sijara Eubanks wins this fight, and she wins by decision over Sarah Moras. Now, I'm going to tell you something, man. Sijara Eubanks she's one of the hardest fighters to like in all the combat sports. I mean, she got this chip on her shoulder all the time. She wants this respect that I'm still trying to figure out why she carries herself as if she's an elite fighter. I mean, the way Sijara Eubanks talk, you would think that she has won championships in 7 divisions across 7 different sports. But that has not happened. But this is the way she talks. I just don't, I'm not really sure I get it. But she's the one who got mad at Joe Rogan because he had never heard of her before. Yeah, but she did win this fight. She was clearly the superior striker. Sarah Moras has all the heart in the world. You know who Sarah Moras reminds me of? She reminds me of a massively underdeveloped Roxanne Modafferi because she has all that heart. She's as tough as they come, but she's just not a good athlete overall. She's pretty decent on the ground. Her striking is leagues behind Modafferi, but it looks like what Modafferi looked like before she really worked on her striking as much as if you've seen Modafferi fight in her last few fights, you can tell how much she's worked on her striking and it's gotten better. And I think she has like really maximized what she can do physically. Sarah Moras is like she has just as much heart and grappling is not quite as good as Modafferi. Like I said, it's an underdeveloped Modafferi. Not quite as good, but still that's the best part of her game. But she was just outclassed overall from a striking standpoint and didn't have a significant enough advantage on the ground, or maybe didn't even have one at all to get anything done down there. So she was the biggest underdog coming in. And for the most part, it looked like it, even though she did have a little bit of success in the second round. Sijara Eubanks does not have great cardio. She gets a lot of flack for not having great cardio. She doesn't like it. She talked about that in the post-fight interview. Well, the thing about that is if you stop, breathing super heavy, like within a minute into the second round, people probably will stop saying that. So that's just kind of how that goes. So if you are coming in and watching now, if you are leaving comments in the chat, I will be answering those or coming and talking to those after I get through going over the fights, because as of right now, we haven't gotten sophisticated enough so I can see the chat on the screen at the same time. Future developments. Let's move on to this next fight, which I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stop picking Michael Johnson to win fights. I just am going to stop. I knew this was going to be a kind of a toss-up sort of a fight, but I knew that Michael Johnson would have the advantage in striking. I thought he might be able to stuff some of those takedowns and keep it standing. And in the first round, true enough, he lit. I mean, look at these numbers: 26-1 in strikes in the first round. I mean, just lit him up like a Christmas tree. But in the second, well, actually in between the first and second round, Thiago Moises's corner, they smartly advised him. They like, dude, you need to take him down immediately. I'm telling you, Thiago Moises charged across the cage and immediately went for that single, got the takedown, and I'm telling you, it took maybe 35, 40 seconds after that takedown. Got a heel hook that Michael Johnson did not defend properly. Daniel Cormier said it. When you're going against a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who is of the level of Thiago Moises and obviously trains and practices heel hooks, as soon as that gets locked in, you got to turn out of that and kick off with your opposite leg. Put your foot on the butt of the person putting in the submission and push out of the hold. Clearly not what Michael Johnson did. And I knew that this could be his downfall in this fight. I knew the fact that he does not defend submissions well could be his issue, but I thought that he would outclass him enough on the feet. Did not happen, and he ends up getting submitted. So at this point, guys, it was not looking good. I'm just going to be honest. So we got the Chase Sherman Villanueva fight, correct? We got Kelleher, as you were wrong. That was 1-1. Then we went to Benitez Morales, was really close. We dropped to 1-2. And then we got, of course, Eubanks Maras, right? It was 2-2. And then we got here, and now we're only 2-3 on these predictions. So it wasn't looking that great. So we move over to the heavyweight division. Andrei Arlovski against Philippe Linz. Philippe Linz kind of disappointed me. I really thought he would give a better effort here. And I'm going to tell you, every time somebody tries to throw dirt on Andrei Arlovski and say his career is just about over, he's coming off of a KO loss in the first round of Jairzinho Rosenstrike inside of a minute. Looked like, yeah, this is about done. Philippe Linz had won professional the PFL heavyweight season of 2018. Did not fight in 2019, which I don't know. Maybe the layoff had something to do with it. But he just couldn't seemingly close the distance against Arlovski. Arlovski kept this on the outside using jabs, front kicks. He just would not give Linz an opportunity to reel off those the faster hands. And I thought that Linz at some point might try to get this fight to the ground. As you can see, he never attempted a takedown at all, besides, having a solid grappling background. The first round was really close. The second round was kind of close too. But I did think that it was a right decision to go with Andrei Arlovski winning this fight. I had picked Linz to win. We dropped at this point to 2-4 on the card on predictions. I'm going to tell you guys, I think it's been years since I predicted a card and didn't get at least 60% of my picks right. So we redeemed ourselves coming down the stretch. But right here in this middle of this card, it was not looking good for these predictions. We move on to the next fight. Ricky Simone against Ray Bourque. I'm not sure what exactly went on in the first two rounds with Ray Bourque, but he just simply was not aggressive enough. He was not throwing enough shots. Just look at the stats here on the screen. He only threw 16 punches in the first round. Landed 62% of those shots. So he was there and able to land, but he just could not, I don't know why, he just couldn't get off. The second round, he then gets outworked again, but still, again, lands a higher percentage, 25-14. In the third round, he finally started letting his hands go. He was landing shots to the body, scoring, and I think he was doing some damage. Now, to Ricky Simone's credit, he was shutting Ray Bourque down at almost every turn with the takedowns. And this was something I think I kind of underestimated with Ricky Simone. Both of these guys are outstanding wrestlers. Nowhere in the world you would have told me that Ricky Simone was going to take Ray Bourque down 7 times. He did that. 7 times, 5 passes, only 1 reversal for Ray Bourque. He tried to Grammy roll twice. Only was successful in evading the takedown attempt 1 time, or getting out of that body lock 1 time with that maneuver. But yeah, I just was really disappointed in Ray Bourque's lack of action in this fight. I thought that he would come out doing a little bit more. He did not appear to be tired at all. He was fresh in the third round. And when Simone got takedowns, he really didn't do a lot with them. But if you get 7 of them, that's saying something. So Simone got the victory. He really needed this. He was coming off 2 straight losses. He got knocked out in the first round by Uriah Faber in a fight that I could have sworn Uriah Faber had no business in. So Simone definitely needed the victory for sure. Ray Bourque was moving up because he can't, for whatever reason, he fails to make weight all the time at flyweight. I definitely think flyweight is the best weight for him. I don't know what he needs to change or do to consistently make 125. He is only 5'4", so I don't know. But Henry Cejudo used to struggle to make 125 a lot too. So I don't know. It can be done. And Ray Bourque's still a very young man. He's 26 years old. He's even younger than Ricky Simone, which is pretty shocking, but he is. So we'll see what happens with his career moving forward. But this was kind of a tough loss, I felt. The next fight was Drew Dober against Alexander Hernandez, and Drew Dober is on a roll. I picked this fight. I actually even picked a second round TKO for Drew Dober, and he came through with exactly that. I thought Hernandez started off strong, but I felt somewhere there in the towards the middle of the first round, he got hit with a body shot. This seemed to kind of change things a little bit. Going into the second round, he definitely looked tired, and Dober's pressure just kept coming, kept coming, kept coming, and then he just started touching him. And you can see in the second round, landed 37 or 87 punches, knocked him down once or twice there. Now Hernandez did kind of really have some desperation takedowns that's what you see there, but he could not control Dober any of those times. Dober was able to get up. As a matter of fact, he had two takedowns in the second round alone, I believe it was. So but he couldn't control him, and Dober kept getting to his feet, and he ultimately got the stoppage. He's going to more than likely find himself ranked in the next rankings because coming into this, Alexander Hernandez was ranked number 15. Dober was outside of that. Now we have three straight wins, all of them stoppages. Knocked out Nasrat Haqparast and Marco Polo Reyes. So he's on a run. He is on a run, and he's a guy you gotta pay attention to because he's tough, he's athletic, he trains in elevation there with Team Elevation. So that the Colorado based lightweights are having a heck of a week because Justin Gaethje also got that huge victory over Tony Ferguson at UFC 249. So let's dip right here into this co-main event. Called this one too. So we go in a little bit of a run at the end of the card. This was an upset because Ovince St. Preux came in as the favorite. I'm telling you, man, Ovince St. Preux, just from a conditioning standpoint, did not look good at all. I don't know what his game plan was. He retreated a lot. I mean, I'm talking about turned his back and took off running on multiple occasions. And I wasn't really I don't I mean, I understand trying to make sure you're not fighting with your back against the cage against a big physical guy like Rothwell, but the amount of times he sprinted out of range, like literally sprinted, turned sideways, got little, the amount of times he did it, I just thought it was a bad look for judges. So when he did have some moments. He dropped Rothwell at the end of the second round, but I thought that he was getting dominated in that round before then. And in the third round, I thought that St. Preux did the better work. I know that the numbers say that Rothwell landed more. He laid on OSP a lot, but I thought OSP did the better work. I thought he landed the harder shots. But I just thought he spent either too much time on the cage, or when he wasn't on the cage, he was running off of it. And that just isn't it. So this is a shot when he caught Rothwell and dropped him for a second. But Rothwell got to his feet. Was a little bit dazed, but he got to his feet. He's just a big, tough, strong dude. And I figured that from a size standpoint, he would wear OSP down. But I didn't expect OSP to be as taxed as he was. So that was a little bit surprising. A lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, he's a good heavyweight to be, because he's 6'4" and he looked like he carried the weight well. But he didn't fight like he carried it well. So that's the big thing. He didn't fight like he came in with wind. So, all right, it's time for the main event, and I got a lot to say. Smith versus Teixeira. Glover Teixeira, first of all, before I get into anything, let me first give Glover his credit. 40 years old. I picked this fight. This was an upset as well. So like I said, I redeemed myself, ended up finishing 5-5 for the predictions. Not as good as last week, but not horrible. So if we want to count our last 2 weeks, what was that? 12. So I'm 12-9, which is not a great percentage, but it's better than being 500 or lower. But yeah, so I picked this one. Teixeira's 40 years, will be 41 years old in October, and similar, but even more so. Like people were trying to kind of bury Andrei Arlovski. There were people doing that with Glover Teixeira, but now he's won 3 fights in a row. He came into this fight ranked number 8. Anthony Smith was ranked number 4. You got to believe Teixeira is going to be ranked in the top 5 moving forward. And he might be one more win away from another title shot. His last title shot was in 2014 against John Jones. He might be right there. I mean, you'd have to think that Glover Teixeira against a returning Thiago Santos makes a lot of sense right now. So yeah, I mean, this is real that at 40, 41 years old, he's right in the title picture. So, and he's on a run, and he just beat Anthony Smith, 5th round TKO. Now, in the first round, Anthony Smith was doing really well. He was landing the jab, he was landing front kicks. He seemed to be quicker and able to touch Teixeira just much easier. But something happened right at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, and it shifted the tide. One of the most obvious things that I saw was Teixeira landed a left hook, I believe it was, to I think it was a left hook to Anthony Smith's right eye, and it really bothered Anthony Smith. He backed up and he even shelled up, and Teixeira starts throwing shots. But I'm going to say Teixeira could have got that fight stopped right there in the second round, but for whatever reason, he was very tentative. I don't know if he thought he was playing possum. I don't know what was happening, but I'm literally screaming like, dude, if you can, because I didn't want to see Anthony Smith take a ton of damage, but I'm like, if you just throw shots while he's shelled up, he's not actually going to be hitting him, but the lack of offense coming back should force the stoppage. Well, Teixeira didn't really do that at that point. So I was a little bit bewildered with that. Instead, he started going for a submission. It was almost like, did he want like a feather in his cap of saying that he submitted Anthony Smith because Anthony Smith is such a good grappler? I didn't know what it was going on, but it was kind of shocking to me that he didn't go for the finish. And this happened with about 3 minutes left in the second round. So he literally is on top, controlling Anthony Smith, landing shots here and there. He landed enough, I mean, because he busted the cauliflower ear on Smith's left ear, I believe it was. So he was landing some shots. He just wasn't going at it at the clip that I thought he needed to get the finish. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. He didn't want to burn himself out. I'm not sure, but I thought he could have got the finish in the second round. In the third round, it was just completely one-sided. I mean, he's battering Anthony Smith from pillar to post. Anthony Smith firing back some stuff here and there just to stay somewhat active, but this was one-sided, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at referee Jason Herzog, and I'm gonna be really talking a lot about him right now. And I'm like, okay, this you could stop this. You could really stop this. Like, this is about done. You could stop this fight now, bro. You really can. And I know that Dominic Cruz had something to say about Keith Peterson on Saturday, not, maybe stopping his fight too early. Well, if you thought that fight was stopped too early, I don't know. Is this what Dominic wanted? Because this was ridiculous, right? We go into the fourth round, man. He is battering Anthony Smith, literally knocking teeth out. At one point, Anthony Smith is on all fours with Glover Teixeira on top of him. He reaches down onto the canvas, picks up one of his teeth, and hands it to Jason Herzog. I am not lying. I swear to God, he hands one of his teeth to him. Now, I don't want to put this all on Jason Herzog. There was so much body language being given by Anthony Smith in his corner and in the fight, in the octagon, where Smith's corner, the James Krause and Mark Montoya, should have stepped in and said, you know what, our guy's done. Because as a fighter, as a warrior, these guys are not going to say, I'm done. They're going to give signals. And if you know your fighter, you got to be like, okay, we got to rescue him. We have to save him from himself. We got to step in and let him be able to fight another day without being compromised. Not to mention, this is the same guy who a month ago had to deal with a home invasion where he had to fight, literally physically fight a guy who really got to him mentally and physically, because whatever was going on with this guy, and I'm gonna be totally honest with you, as if you haven't heard him tell the account of what happened with this intruder in his house, it sounded like he was literally dealing with somebody who was demon possessed. And He said because this guy was about 160, 170 pounds, and no matter what he did to him, now he's a trained fighter, right? On a high level. Fought John Jones in 2019. You don't get to fight John Jones if you're not really good at what you do. But he said he's throwing everything he had at this guy, hitting him with everything he's got. And he just couldn't subdue him. He couldn't stop him. The guy kept coming. He's bleeding. He's bloody. Just a really freaky, crazy, scary situation. He's a month removed from that ordeal. And you're watching him getting beat up. And nobody in the corner thought Ant can't win this fight. Anthony can't win this fight. Nobody thought that. Like there was from the middle to the end of the second round on into the fifth round when Jason Herzog finally saw fit to stop the fight. From that point, there was no point there where I thought Anthony Smith could win. He was getting slapped around. It was horrible. And I am almost a lifelong combat sports fan. So I'm not some dude that just came in. It's the first fight I saw. And I'm like totally taken aback at the horror. I know how this goes. I know how combat sports goes. But there is no reason in the world why you should allow your fighter to take this type of punishment when you already can see that they can't win this fight. This was done. This was done. He gave so many physical clues that he was done. Getting hit with hard shots, and he retreats back into the cage and kind of just slouches and gives this feeling or this look as though he's beaten. Then when he went down 2 or 3 times, and each time he shells up, that's usually a sign. And like I said, I don't want to get just on the corner man because Jason Herzog, in my opinion, this was dreadful. To me, I wouldn't want to see him referee a EA UFC match, let alone a real one again. This was dreadful. If Anthony Smith had gotten really, truly, seriously hurt, and I'm hoping and praying that he's not, this would be on them because they allowed this fight to go on too long. They did not do their jobs. I don't care what anybody says. They did not do their jobs. And I as a human being and as a fan of mixed martial arts and combat sports, do not appreciate when people make these kinds of decisions that can quickly turn what we are watching from entertainment to something else really quickly. And I understand this is not basketball, football, and baseball. The rules are different, but it should never be like that. And I was not pleased with the way this fight was handled by referee Jason Herzog or Anthony Smith's corner people. They failed. They failed. They flopped. They failed. And that's it. Anthony Smith took the loss. He took the loss. He took it like a man. He showed great heart. He did everything I felt like he could do that day. On this night, I felt like he did that. Unfortunately, his corner and the referees did not hold up their end of the bargain. So I'm going to look over here and check out if you guys are making any comments here. Sev Saint said Smith winded again, just like in the Jones fight. You know, I can buy that. And honestly, if we're going back, and I'm kind of getting off my soapbox a little bit, if we're going back and we're looking at this from a pure fighting standpoint, that was part of the reason why I picked Teixeira. I said, early on, I know that it'll be tough because Glover Teixeira is a slow starter, kind of always has been, and as he gets older, he's a slower starter, but he is a guy who kind of builds the data, gets the timing, and I truly believe that he was a better overall striker because I feel like while Anthony Smith is long and a big guy, I feel like his strikes take a little bit longer to get from point A to point B. And he's a lumbering guy. And I've noticed in almost every single fight that his stamina, he slows down significantly. Even in the victory over Volkan Oezdemir, I thought that both of them were exhausted. It was just that Oezdemir was even more tired. So when Smith generally doesn't get a guy early, or he isn't dominating like completely downhill, I start to notice he starts to gas a little bit. I don't know what it is. Some guys are just built that way. He used to have, there was some sort of disorder that he had where and it was supposedly had gotten resolved, and he was supposed to have like better wind after that. And he had pretty much attributed some of the losses early in his career to this issue and condition that was reportedly handled. But I still do notice that this is an issue here for him. So I think that was one of my main reasons why I picked Teixeira to win this fight. Adam let's see, Guthrie Holston says the ref and corner should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely horrible. Anthony needed to be saved from himself, and they failed to do that. I could not agree more. I could not agree more, man. I felt like I felt personally offended, dude. I'm not gonna even lie. I felt personally offended because I sit down and watch. I'm gonna tell you something. It's weird. This is probably kind of weird, right? My favorite thing about combat sports is actually not the violence, right? Like I know that's a part of it, but my favorite thing about it is the strategy. My favorite thing about it is that this human being has their body as their tool, as their weapon. This is and they have an option to train it, learn different things, different disciplines. And they have to figure out how they can use their trained and sharpened and honed tool to defeat another person using their tool. And those different style matchups are the thing that really kind of fascinate me the most. So when I see somebody allow the violence of the sport to like, I'm not trying to say I would rather see them tag each other and there's a point system and you touch them and the light goes off. Nobody has to actually get punched. No, I'm not saying that. That's stupid. What I'm saying is when it gets to the point where it's like unnecessarily brutal and the winner of the contest has already been determined, but now we just literally watching somebody get pounded. That ceases to be entertaining at that point. That ceases to be entertaining. And that's what we saw today. And he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that. I mean, I feel like he won. Dude, listen, he went in between rounds and he told them, my teeth are falling out. Hello? My teeth are falling out? If my fighter tells me in between rounds, my teeth are falling out, and he or she's already losing, yeah. I'm probably say, yeah, bro, let's not go. Because I know this is a televised event. There's viewers watching. I know he doesn't want to. I mean, the microphones and cameras are right there. I know he doesn't want to say, I'm done. Because people will always pump that up. They'll always throw that up. Oh, he quit. They'll say that. But I'm going to save him from that because I'm already looking at him and I can tell he's done. So let him blame me. That's your job as the cornerman. That's your job. And then the referee's job is to see this guy is not intelligently defending himself. Yeah, a couple times he got up and, Glover allowed him to get up. I don't know what was happening. And he started firing some shots. But there were several times where he shelled up and literally looked to be giving himself up. When you do this after you just took some big shots, that usually means I'm giving it up. Jason Herzog's like, no, he ain't giving it up. Let's go. No, man. I didn't dig it. I didn't dig it at all. I really didn't. So, just disappointed with the way that ended. So, but hopefully that doesn't take too much away from what Glover Teixeira did because he put on a fantastic performance at the age 40. And he deserves the credit. He deserves to be in the top 5. And if he gets another victory, I don't see why he doesn't deserve another title shot. So I felt like he did get one of the performance of the night bonuses for this win. Brian Boom Kelleher. It was kind of weird that Kelleher and Hunter Azure got fight of the night, and Drew Dober got the performance of the night. I don't know. I kind of felt like Brian Kelleher deserved to get. I mean, the Kelleher Azure fight was good. I don't know if it was fight of the night, but it was good. But I shouldn't argue because last recap, I talked about how they never give fight of the night to the prelims. They gave it to him. So, okay, fine. So I think the right people still got bonuses. So put it like that. Even though I don't know that Hunter Azure deserved the bonus, but he got one. So it is what it is. I didn't agree with Paul Felder and company who were saying that the main event, Teixeira Smith, maybe should have been fight of the night. I felt like from second through the fourth round, Teixeira just beat on him. So how is that a fight of the night? Because Anthony Smith had a good first round? No, that's not fight of the night. A fight of the night is a competitive fight, goes back and forth. There was no back and forth. There was a back and then there was a heavy fourth. So I don't make that fight of the night at all. So I don't know, guys. That's what I have for you today. I don't know if does anybody have any questions, any other things they want to bring up and talk about. I'd be happy to address them. But it was a busy night, busy week. The crazy thing about it is I got to go right into previewing and doing my odds and prediction pieces for this Saturday's card, which is headlined by Alistair Overeem against Walt Harris. I got to really start digging deep. I usually have predictions off the top of my head, but I don't necessarily know for sure until actually I've really looked at it and just taken a look at everything, all things considered, previous opponents, how these guys match up against, if it's an orthodox southpaw type of a matchup, or how many, when is the last time you fought? It's just a lot of different things, but it's a pretty decent card. You got Claudia Gadelia against Angela Hill, Dan Ige against Edson Barboza, Eric Anders against Christoph Jotko, Song Yadong against Marlon Vera, Matt Brown against Miguel Beza, Anthony Hernandez against Kevin Holland, Mike Davis against Giga Chikadze, Darren Elkins against Nate Landwehr. You got Courtney Casey against Mara Romero Barella. And then the first fight is Rodrigo Nascimento against Dontel Mays. So we'll see if all of those fights make it to the event. The last two events here in the fanless ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena has lost the fight every time. UFC 249 lost Jacare versus Uriah Hall because Jacare and two cornermen tested positive for COVID-19. And then this card lost Carl Robertson against Marvin Vettori because Carl Robertson missed weight by 1.5 pounds. And Marvin Vettori lost his complete mind and tried to attack Carl Robertson in the hotel for missing weight. Yeah, some guys got some problems here. So Adam says Hernandez and Dober may be fight of the night. Think Walt KOs Overeem early and think Ige can put pressure on Barboza and win the decision. I don't know, man. I don't know. It takes a special guy whose game is to stand to beat Barboza. To me, with Barboza, you have to take him down. Ige does have good wrestling and some decent wrestling, but he's got to take Barboza down. I don't. There's very few guys that can just stand and beat Barboza. Justin Gaethje, I think, is like the only one I can really remember just stand and beat Barboza. Michael Johnson earlier in his career, which is part of the reason why I thought he would probably beat Thiago Moises, but that didn't happen. Walt KO and Overeem, I think it's an interesting fight, man, because Walt hasn't fought a lot of really good strikers. And I know Overeem always finds a way to blow a fight. I mean, Overeem, I'm trying to tell you, Overeem will blow a fight, man. I mean, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 fights that Overeem was winning, had it, and somehow blows it. Stipe Miocic, he blew. Obviously, the Jairzinho Rosenstrike fight, he blew. I think there's at least 1 or 2 more instances. He just finds a way, man. Finds a way. And that really is going to be the story of his career as a UFC heavyweight because, this might be a good topic for a video. I'm trying to think, who's the greatest heavyweight in UFC history to never have won a title? So, obviously, Ngannou's in that conversation. But Alistair Overeem's got to be right there. He's got to be right there. I mean, he's got to be right there. I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody else who is more accomplished, more big wins, it's Ngannou or Overeem. It's got to be. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else? I can't think of another heavyweight. So those two guys have to be the best. And I would guess since Ngannou knocked Overeem out, you might give it to Ngannou. But I have a feeling that Ngannou's going to be the champion. I don't think that Overeem's ever going to win a championship. And not in the UFC. And I don't know. It's interesting. So, but he is very skilled. and Walt hasn't fought anybody like Overeem. So we'll see what happens. I feel like if Walt wins, I feel like he should fight Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Um, but that would be a pretty good fight, I think. That would be something that probably headlines something. Aren't you glad, though, as much as I love boxing, aren't you glad that we don't have to say, you know what would be a good fight, and then back that up with saying, oh, but it'll never happen because one guy's with this network and the other guy's with another network? I love boxing, but that right there is the thing that makes me appreciate mixed martial arts and appreciate the UFC, even though it's perfect. It's totally not perfect. Dana White's a different kind of dude. He supports a different kind of president, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I am not gonna lie. I totally appreciate that factor with mixed martial arts. You don't have to worry about that. What you have to worry about with with boxing. So with that being said, man, I am going to go ahead and probably call it a night. It's been a long day. We did a Fight Guys podcast show earlier today, which is a little bit of a preview of 171. I got to get stored up and ready to preview this weekend's card and get ready for another show on Friday with the Fight Guys, my man Peter Kahn. And I'm going to be back to do a recap of that show on Saturday as well. So, as always, I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you very much for watching, Adam, as well. Uh, God bless and peace.